Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Annalisa Ely and today I'm doing a wrap-up of what I have read in April, or the second half of April, because I did do a half wrap-up earlier this month. So firstly, let's get rid of all of these, which is more Yona of the Dawn, and I talked about these fairly extensively in my half wrap-up, so I won't talk about them again here, but I got through volume 25, so I've got like 6 more to go. Then we have Break Your Glass Slippers by Amanda Lovelace. She is the one who wrote The Mermaid's Voice Returns in this one, as well as several other really cool feminist poetry collections. This one is specifically dealing a lot with toxic relationships and getting out of them and recovering from them, and recognizing that you're in one in the first place. And I didn't like it as well as some of the other ones I've read, but it was still pretty good and I look forward to the next one. Then we have Your Welcome Universe by Whitney Gardner, and this has deaf representation, so I was reading it for the Disability Readathon, and I didn't find out until after I'd read it that the author isn't actually deaf. They did use deaf sensitivity readers and such, but not actually own voices. That's unfortunate. I had that trouble a lot this month. Like, I picked up Song for a Whale thinking that was own voices, but it's not. It's by an interpreter. And also Rules, which has autism representation, but it's by the sister of an autistic person and features the sister of an autistic person and is all about how annoying the autistic person is. While we're on that subject, it had much better handling of other disability. Like, the main purpose of the book was talking about a relationship the main character had with someone she met at the speech therapist's office where her brother goes. And he was someone who used a wheelchair and used a speech book where you point to pictures that mean different things to talk to people. And she made a friendship with him, and that was a really nice relationship, and talked about her ableism and how she overcame that with him. But then she didn't apply what she learned from her friend to how she treated her brother. So it was a very weird little book. Fortunately, it was very short. It was only about a 4-hour audiobook. Anyway, about this book, I didn't enjoy this one. Not because of the deaf representation, that actually seemed really good. The main character is a graffiti artist, and she thinks she has the right to do her art in permanent paint all over public and other people's property, and that other people have no right to have their property look like they want it to look. She has the right to splatter whatever she wants anywhere without paying for it. Like, she compares it to how companies buy ad space and put that in your face, but like, they paid for it. They paid for that billboard. Did you pay for a billboard to put your art on? No, you didn't. And in fact, when she's given free access to a wall that she can paint on in public, she doesn't want to do it on that wall because she actually just likes breaking the rules. Okay. So I really didn't like the main character, that aspect of her. Most other aspects of her life were fine, except she's a big hypocrite because she gets mad at one of her friends for lying when she has been lying about her graffiti to her moms, who she supposedly loves, for the whole book, and thinks that's fine, or at least excusable because it's for her art, and she has to do it, and she can't just do some other kind of art and show people in public, you know, on the internet or anything. So that being a big part of this book was very annoying. I did like the actual, like, physical and artistic aspects of the graffiti, like she talked about how she acquired the paint and how she came up with the ideas and designed them, and how she used cutout stencils. That was all great, and there are illustrations in here that show the graffiti, that those were really nice. And she has a really cool friendship with a girl who puts in the effort to learn sign language to be able to communicate with her without the interpreter. Also, there was a super unprofessional interpreter in this book, which was very annoying. Like, it's said that she's unprofessional, but I don't know. The fact that the mothers of the main character hired her on purpose to be unprofessional when they are also deaf was like super uncool of them to do. Possibly a good window into how deaf people's lives are. Good representation of an older queer couple, but not even own voices and really annoying main character, so can't really recommend it. Then we have a very different reading experience, which was The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna, and I absolutely loved this. I was looking forward to this when I heard about it being a upcoming release several months ago, but then I heard a few early reviews where people didn't like it, so I was put off of reading it. But then Angela from Literature Science Alliance said that she really liked it, so I decided I would give it a chance, and I'm really glad I did. Several people who had complaints said they didn't like the training montage, and I really like warrior training montages, so like this reminded me a lot of Tamora Pierce's books about lady knights training in a palace with a bunch of other people, and it's being really hard work and the different classes you go to, and I really enjoyed that. Made me feel a bit nostalgic, and this is a little different because they live in a really oppressive society, like even more so than Tortal, and it's extremely sexist, and the particular group that this girl belongs to, of people who bleed gold and are descended from these demons who have magical powers, are super oppressed and sentenced to death until someone decides they could be useful as warriors, because one of the powers they have is they're really hard to kill. They can only die one way, like by poisoning or drowning or beheading. It's different for each one of them. So all the other ways to kill a person, they don't die from, they like resurrect. And so they make really good warriors because they can just come back. You don't run out of them so much. And so we get to see this main character taken to a palace to be trained to be a warrior, and all the cool training she goes through. She's taught by a bunch of women, which is really nice, and they're also paired off with men who are going to be like their partners, young men called recruits, which is an interesting concept and doesn't make a whole lot of sense because in this sexist of a society that's very purposefully sexist, I don't think the people in control would have wanted men to fight alongside these women in an equal sort of way and train them to treat them as equals. So that part didn't really make sense. The world building was really great except for a couple of plot holes like that one. The fight scenes were really good, and my favorite part was the ending, but I can't tell you about that, but it was very good. The main character was very likable. She had some very likable friends. There were some very strong friendships she had with other girls who were being trained, and that was really awesome. And there's a lot of themes of accepting yourself and not believing the lies that you've been told about your worth. So it was really awesome. I recommend it, especially if you like Tamora Pierce's work. Then we have several romances that I read on ebook. First is Acting on Impulse by Mia Sosa, part of the Love on Cue trilogy, I think. This is about two strangers who meet on an airplane, so a little bit like Love from A to Z. But in this case, they're on the way to Aruba, both for a vacation to get away from some things that have happened to them recently, and they bond at the beach. And then it's about what happens at the beach, and then what happens when they get back to normal life and have to figure out how to reconcile their different lifestyles with each other, because one of them is a fitness instructor and one of them is a successful TV actor who is looking on becoming a movie actor, and is in the spotlight a lot. And the fitness instructor really doesn't like the spotlight, has had a boyfriend in the spotlight before and had a really difficult time with it, and they both have some issues with their families and with their past that they need to work on. And I like how their romance brought out those issues, and then they decided, instead of just letting this relationship implode, we're going to actually work on these issues, not just let these go festering anymore. We're actually going to address our issues. That was really nice. Then I read the third book in that series, Crashing Into Her, which is about the cousin of one of the leads from the first book and the best friend of that lead having a one-night stand after the lead they both know's wedding, and then being in each other's lives again when they are now all living in the same city when they didn't expect to be living in the same city, and how they both have been avoiding relationships because they've had bad histories, and now they're around someone that they had really good chemistry with and really like, and maybe they should reconsider their stance on long-term relationships. And I actually like this one quite a bit better than the first one. I just really like the personalities of the characters, and the issues that they had were more easily understandable to me, and I really liked both of their jobs. One of them is another fitness instructor and one is a stuntman. Those are both really interesting and fun jobs to me, and I liked seeing them work through their fear of relationships and their complicated relationships with their dads that they both had. Then I read Here to Stay by Adriana Herrera, and that one is about two people who were from New York who have now moved to Texas, I think Dallas, for their work. Well, one of them for their work, and one of them now has a job there but actually moved there for a boyfriend, and so she's been put off boyfriends because this boyfriend then cheated on her directly after she moved to be with him, and so she's got some fear of relationships, and he doesn't want to stay in Dallas where she is now very rooted because he has a sister and family back in New York and wants to be with them. So even though they have pretty fast chemistry and really like each other, they have a little bit of a difficult time deciding whether they want to change their lives for each other or not. And this included really adorable found family because they start a little group of people who were from New York and are now living in Texas for whatever reason, to kind of talk about New York and have good times together and like group bond over that. And the way that that group came together so quickly but still felt so organic was really nice, and I really loved them having this group of friends, of mutual friends that like rooted for their relationship and took care of them really sweetly. So that was a lot of fun. And also this included I don't know if it's a trope, but where one of the characters finds an animal, preferably the guy character, finds an animal and wants to adopt it, and like comes to the other main character for help, like, help me take care of this small critter. And it's so adorable, and like man with baby is great, but man with kitten is so much better, more attractive, and it was so precious, and so I absolutely adored that book. Then from NetGalley I listened to The Girl with Stars in Her Eyes, which is kind of billed as a romance, but I would say is more of a contemporary with a heavy romance subplot. It is about the lady main character is a guitarist, has been kind of struggling, going from gig to gig, having difficulty because the music world is very sexist and racist, and her former childhood friend who ghosted her and left town, who is the manager of a about to be very successful girl band, and how they run into each other after a lot of years, and a lot about the running of this band, and how they kick out a member, add a new member, the politics and the money and the managing of an image that goes on around that, and then the romance between these two characters was a big part, but there was a lot of band business that took up a lot of it. And I didn't mind because it was a really interesting band and really enjoyable, more found family dynamics. And the only part I didn't like was the way it was an audiobook with 2 narrators, one for each perspective, and the male narrator, or the narrator for the male character's part, did the women's voices in a really... It wasn't just a normal falsetto, he made the voices very nasal and gave them a super LA accent, and it made them all sound that stereotype of the shallow catty women. Whenever it was his portion, he read the main character's voice in a totally different way from the way her perspective's narrator did it, and I don't know why he was so bad at doing women's voices, and there was like no differentiation between the way he did all of the voices. Like for one of the characters, that voice would have worked, but he did it for all of the characters. Kind of pulled me out of it and also made me confused about who was talking. So for this one, maybe go for the physical or ebook versions. The last book I read was The Night Circus, and I read this one for my book club, and I had been put off reading this because I'd seen some bad reviews, and wasn't really a good book. It was totally dependent on setting, and the plot and characters were super undeveloped. And there's like a romance that's a big part of the book that is very much told and not shown, and like it felt like it was a fairy tale that was being told to you verbally, except if it was a fairy tale being told to you verbally, a bunch of the boring parts would have been excised. There was just a lot more interaction between the bad guys and the heroes than between the 2 heroes who are falling in love, and so I understood how nasty the bad guys were a lot more than I understood why these 2 characters liked each other. And I was also disappointed in the lack of consequences for the bad guys, because it feels like now they're just gonna go and do this to another 2 people forever and ever because they are seemingly immortal, and what they've done to the 2 main characters is really bad, and I don't want them to be able to do that to any more people. It is a really cool setting, but if you're gonna make a story and not just a, I don't know, RPG setting, you need to actually do a decent job with the characters in the plot. The twins who are born into the circus, they're really cool, and their relationship with a third party, Bailey, is nice, but also not super developed, like certainly not enough to carry the book. So if you want to explore a cool setting but don't mind reading a lot of pages talking about a competition that doesn't make any sense and that you will never understand, you could try it. Otherwise I wouldn't recommend. And those are all the books that I read in the second half of the month. I'd love to know what you've been reading. If you read any of these, what are your thoughts? How about a golden or yellow emoji for the gilded ones? Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!